Stingy old Mr. Scrooge has long loved nothing or anyone but his own money. He did not understand the joy that Christmas and New Year brought to others. Therefore, on the eve of the holiday, the old man refused to let his assistant leave work early, who wanted to buy a present for his son. Mr. Scrooge even turned down his nephew's invitation to celebrate Christmas with his family, and also refused to donate money to help children in need. The old man closed his office late in the evening and went home. And then, in his bedroom, strange things began to happen. A wind blew from somewhere, thunder rumbled, and suddenly the ghost of his companion, who had died last Christmas, appeared in front of him. Mr. Scrooge was very scared and did not understand what was happening. The spirit said that after death he was punished for not doing good and not helping people during his lifetime. He did not want the old man to suffer the same fate. So he warned Scrooge that 3 other ghosts would soon visit him. After these words, the spirit disappeared. The old man pretended that nothing had happened. But soon, the ghost of a child appeared before him. Mr. Scrooge was stunned because it was the spirit of his past years. The ghost, with the help of magic, transferred them to the past. The old man saw himself as a little boy in the town where he was born and raised. He was decorating the Christmas tree, and he had a lot of fun. Then Mr. Scrooge saw himself in his youth, the day when, full of delight and hope, he proposed to his beloved. After that, the old man saw himself matured. His wife was crying, and he could not understand why she decided to part with him. The fact is that Scrooge no longer paid attention to her, but only thought about money. The old man could not look at such himself from the side, and asked the ghost to return him back. The spirit eventually disappeared, but another ghost appeared in its place. He carried Scrooge to his assistant's home on Christmas Eve. The whole family was sitting at a poor table. The old man was sure that they all hated him, but he became convinced that this was not so. The aide offered a toast to Mr. Scrooge's health, and his wife very willingly joined the toast. And then the old man noticed that the son of his assistant was sick. Scrooge felt sorry for the child and ashamed of his behavior. Then the ghost took the old man to the house of his nephew. His whole family was happy about the holiday. Most importantly, they left a seat at the table for Mr. Scrooge. The old man did not expect to see this. He always thought that the whole family hated him. Eventually the ghost disappeared, but the spirit of future years appeared in its place. He brought Mr. Scrooge to his own funeral. Everyone said that it became easier for them when the old man finally died. Only then did he realize that in his entire life he had not brought good to anyone. Then Scrooge saw his helper carrying flowers to his son's grave. The old man could no longer look at it, and asked the ghost to bring him back. The third spirit disappeared, and Scrooge was back at home. The old man finally decided to change for the better. Fortunately, he found that time had gone back a few hours. Mr. Scrooge decided not to waste a minute. He still had time to change everything. The old man was sincerely happy about the approaching Christmas. He sent the most expensive and fattest turkey to his assistant's house. Scrooge then sent a gift to the helper's son, and donated a huge amount of money to charity. After that, the old man went to celebrate Christmas with his nephew, where the whole family welcomed him. The next day, when Scrooge's assistant came to work, he raised his salary. For his son, the old man became a godfather. Mr. Scrooge gave the boy the best possible treatment, and he continued to enjoy a healthy life. Since then, the stingy old man has become the kindest and most generous person in the city, and has earned universal love and respect.
Once upon a time, there was a little girl. Once her rich father married an evil stepmother. She settled in the house with her 2 daughters. Their faces were beautiful and white, but their hearts were evil and cruel. And then came a difficult time for the poor girl. From morning until late in the evening, they forced her to do dirty work, carry water, heat the stove, cook food, wash dishes, and do laundry. And besides, the half-sisters did their best to upset her as much as possible. They mocked her, poured peas and wheat into the ashes, and she had to sit and pick them out. In the evening, when she was tired of work, she had to go to bed not in bed, but on the floor, next to the stove. And because she was always in ash, dust, and dirty, the sisters called her Cinderella. But then it happened one day that the king started a feast, which was supposed to last for 3 whole days, and called all the beautiful girls of the country to the holiday so that his son could choose a bride for himself. When the 2 named sisters learned that they, too, could come to the feast, they instantly began to dress up and preen. Cinderella also wanted to go dancing, but her stepmother did not let her go, because she had no dress or shoes, and she was dirty. And then the evil stepmother poured a bowl of wheat into the ashes and said that if Cinderella collected it in 2 hours, then she could go with her sisters. Cinderella went out into the garden and cried. And then 2 white doves flew in, followed by a whole flock of different birds. They swooped down on the ash and began to peck, and so they chose all the grains in a bowl. In less than an hour, they finished their work, and everyone flew back. Cinderella brought a bowl to her stepmother, began to rejoice, thinking that she could go to the feast. But her stepmother would not let her in any way. She turned her back on Cinderella and hurried with her 2 daughters to the ball. When there was no one left at home, Cinderella sat down on the floor and cried with grief. And then 2 white doves flew in, followed by a whole flock of different birds, and they threw off their dress and shoes shiny and all in gold. She quickly put on this dress and came to the bride. They saw her stepsisters and stepmother and thought that it must be some strange princess, she was so beautiful in her golden dress. It never occurred to them that it was Cinderella. The prince came out to meet her, took her hand, and they began to dance. And he liked Cinderella so much that he did not want to dance with any other girl. She danced until the evening and wanted to return home, but the prince asked her to see her off. He wanted to know whose beautiful girl this is and where she lives. But Cinderella ran away from him and climbed onto the dovecot. The prince ordered to destroy the dovecot, but there was no one in it. And nowhere near could he find his beautiful stranger. No one could have guessed that Cinderella was rescued by pigeons that took her home. The prince was upset and went to the palace with his head down. And suddenly he saw a shoe, lifted it up. It was so small and elegant and all of pure gold. The prince guessed that when Cinderella ran away from him, the shoe from her left foot remained on one of the steps. The prince was delighted and ordered to find the mistress of this shoe, and to whom it suits he will marry that one. The parents returned from the ball. They saw that Cinderella was asleep in her shirt on ash, and a dim light was on by the stove. Both sisters went to their rooms, hoping that tomorrow they would be lucky enough to put on the golden slipper. The next day, the prince came to their house, and said that everyone who wants to try on the shoe of his future wife should come out. 2 sisters came out, and the stepmother locked Cinderella in the house and did not let her out. The older sister tried it on a small shoe. The younger sister tried it on the shoe as great. The prince was about to leave, but Cinderella climbed out of the window and ran out to him. And she put on a shoe, and it just fit her. The prince looked into her eyes and recognized in her the very beautiful girl with whom he danced. He took Cinderella, put her on a horse and rode off to play a wedding with her. And he ordered the sisters and stepmother to be locked in their house, and never let them out of there. This is how they were punished for their malice and deceit.